This is about as exciting as this video is going to get. Because all I'm going to do is explain something about the letters and numbers that no one else has ever understood before. But as soon as you see it, you'll see that it makes sense. Now, I've joined a bunch of groups of a lot of truth seekers and freedom fighters, and I love that people are out there doing that. And they all try to understand the emerald tablets and all the ancient dialects and that kind of stuff. But what I need to show them, when I claim to have remembered the beginning of time and the invention of lights, numbers, and letters, I'm not joking. When that thing happened to me, I asked to have a way that I could show people what I'm talking about. And believe it or not, I have it. And when people say God is the Word and the Word is God, they don't understand that that doesn't just mean how we combine or what the word is. It starts with the letters forming the words. And the letters are numbered. And I use English because that's where I resonate with. And everyone else in their language, and according to their numbers, does the same thing. So if you apply this method that I show you, it literally works for everything in the universe, including every person who's ever lived. Things from 369 to E equals MC squared, they're all explained with this. So bear with me and let me go through all the alphabet and the numbers. So I'm going to try to be as non-egoic, but be as entertaining as possible. Here we're going to start with every letter is up and right. If that doesn't make any sense, we say left behind, moving up. Yeah, that's right. Like, I'm down for it. It might sound stupid, but you'll see what I mean as we go on. So we have left and right, and we have the 3-line graph. I'm going to leave that there. It may be a rough sketch, but I just want you to follow along here. So on a 3-line graph, starting with the number 1, it comes from the symbol of a 0, because this little knobby here indicates something coming out of nothing. 1. This shape, O, now expressed, is 1. So here on a 3-line graph, we're talking about this little space right here. In A, also, lowercase a does this. And we're talking about, we're heading over here on the top level of a 3-line graph. We're bottled up here and not going anywhere on a bottom of a 3-line graph. And we're right here. So one thing is happening. A, capital A, comes from the top of a 3-line graph, passes the middle, and we represent this because we're in tenths here. It's once, tenths, twents. I'll get to that later. And here on the bottom, between here and here, something has been activated. So A is act, or activation, action, activity. Just like we have past, present, and future, there's tenses of words and what letters mean depending on who's saying them and how they're saying them. So now I'll erase this one. So as you see, 1 starts that. I'll leave the numbers over here. So we have that flat line. Now B, being the second number, the way it associates with 1 is we're saying from that top up here, the middle that we're reaching out from, we have something else happening here and again. So it's the second thing. So it's not just 1. It's talking about top and bottom and something moving forward from it. It's going to happen. It's going to be. And why is a B shaped like this? 1 initiates the first straight line. 1 is also in the center. B is on the left-hand side, whether it's lowercase or capital. Being the second letter, we have a lowercase b saying backwards C to a line, or a 1 combined with a 3, both facing backwards. Top is talked about, middle is talked about, bottom is talked about. We have a base to our action. So A gave us this idea, B gave us this idea. We'll get into more of that when we get to the further ones. So that's 1 and 2. Like I said, I'm trying to make this as fun as I possibly can. 3. Now this is where it started to get interesting, because coming from 1, we have that line, but it's just over here. We don't have it with C because the number 3, now we moved it away from there because between it was B, which was 2. Now we've moved it away and we have a 3 because we're middle, middle, middle. We have 3 spots that we're now confirming this whole line from top to bottom at 3. So then C is lowercase c, oh, capital C. Wouldn't you know, that's a turned around 3 if you put the letters together. What we do with this is C making a k sound. You open your mouth in order to go k or s, and the noise happens from in here. So your mouth is shaped like that. Just how A is and B is b or b. They go back. They're the shape, they're the sound, the vibration. So we have 1, 2, and 3. I'll move this out of the way so we have more room. But here, you have 3, which means concept. Sorry about the space running out, but concept. That can also change because I'll give you a simple breakdown of what I mean by once, tenths, and twents. Everything between 0 and 9 is in the once category. Everything between 10 and 19 is in the twents category, or tenths category, and everything from 20 to 26 is in the twents category. You'll see what I mean. Like everything between 0 and 9, simple by themselves, is an action coming from its first tense where it's talking from. Like if I'm talking about it, the C means my concept. So therefore, if I was talking about me, that C would then stand for constant because it's me, where I stand. But if it's anything else like ocean, I'll get into words like ocean and stuff like that later, and you'll see why they mean what they mean. So after 3, we already had this line being pointed to by the 3 here, here, and here. Now, if you wanted to move a symbol that is this way as a number, and 2 letters that are big and small that way, you'd have to turn it around. So in order to turn it around, the middle thing is the doorway letter. The doorway letter is the opposite side. A started in the center. B was referencing a backwards line over here. C is turning this symbol around that way. And D is referenced like this with a forward C. So we have the 4th number. So this is all squared away with a right angle. So we're right. We're squared at 4. Come forth into the light. So you have 4. Then you also have a forward C with a line in front of it because you added 1. And the other side of it is the doorway letter because D is dia, D-I-A, like through. It's because the lowercase one is here and the uppercase one is here, bending out from top to bottom. It's bowing out. Now, we haven't broke this yet because the bottom line hasn't been completely expressed. Now we're square at the bottom. Anyway, hopefully you can see this and it comes out okay. If not, I'll edit and make it good for you. So D, being like this, we went from 4, C, add 1, to D. From 3 to C to D. And D, I didn't write that there just so you can see it. Dia means through, like the doorway, the direction, the doer. Depending on if it's a person, place, or thing you're talking about. Or an idea. You'll see when we get down to breaking down words, this applies to everything. Like I said, bear with me. So, we're from 3, which we had 3. We have C and C. We have the line between making D, now reaching out. And E being this and this. We've actually turned a 3 around. We've turned a C around. Like that. So the D is here. We've filled this in, but we're down here on the bottom line. That's why E's usually have like a fractured, shorter one here. Because we're saying we're squared away and we're moving forward. E is the first expression. Why is E equals MC squared? Because it's the manifested concept. 4 turns, now expressed. Because it's 4 turned. It went from 1A, B pointing to the left, C spinning that around, and D moving it to the right. So you went from here to here, from 1 to D. After D, that 1, now instead of being over here, A through D, now you're on the opposite side of that bowed out line at D, expressed down here. And number 5, since I filled up the board with all that material, number 5 is literally a backward C squared away, going forward. So you basically took a backward C, now a forward D, this part of a 4, and added it there in a backward C. So all you're doing is adding the letters and the shapes from the ones before it. 3 moves to E, and in the middle of 3 going like this, you have the doorway where it meets and goes through. E is what comes through as the expression. So E is the expressed letter. Sorry about the funny little thing here. Trying to have as much fun as I can teaching you stuff that needs to be known, because this applies to people, this applies to healing, this applies to everything spiritual. So as silly and goofy as this may sound, saying that we have chants and mantras and affirmations and believing your dreams, that doesn't sound funny to people. But when people say numbers create words and words create things, well, this will make more sense. So we've gone bottom line expressed with 5. At 5, we go from this shape to not being rounded out. We're not straight up and down here anymore. This thing is rounded, and we're reaching out from there. From here, at the middle point of this line. Now we moved up to the second line at F because it's become familiar. Or form, or family, or force, depending on if it's a person, place, or thing. So 6 is the same symbol as a letter. We moved up here. And a C moved up here is now a C up here in its lowercase form. In its uppercase form, the top is still not accounted for. We're right here. This is gone because we've already moved past it the letter before. So the symbols are less just moving us forward. D is the doorway letter. It's pretty amazing when you say come forth into the light, and how the 4th letter starts with an F. And once that 4th letter moves into an F, it becomes familiar. It's a direction, or the doorway to express and to be familiar. That's 3, 6. 3 or 1 through 6. So now we go from 6 being F. Whoop, whoop. Remember, we're right here. We want to be severed and even, 7. And we want to generate something here from what we've had before, now going on completely from here to here. It's generating. It's happening. So it's severed and even. It's generating, or it's a 6 turning its little tongue out and saying, blah, I'm going to create from here. There it is. It's a G. It's a generative letter. And just like I said, up to A, B, C is this shape of your mouth with a sound happening inside, either S or K. Then D is literally dad, or well, da, like the D coming in your talking mouth and going da. And then when you come back to it, it's D. So the shape, and then E is eh. So it's like bottom line expression. Now you move from that to F and you say, top of my mouth goes over my bottom lip, just like this. Doesn't it? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to sound weird, but this is true. It's just people have never been taught this because they didn't see this in a metaphysical form. They only can see what I'm doing here. I can see the deeper stuff, and we'll get to that when I can get people to understand that this is real. So G is the generative, or the generate. We'll just say the gen. It's the generative letter. G, number 7, severed and even. Or where you separate from vitally. But we'll get to all these different why numbers and words. Like the way we spell words, the way we say words, and the way we spell the numbers actually mean something. It's not like we just threw them together and had no clue what we were doing. It's just nobody has actually, I don't want to put anybody down, but nobody's understood this before. It's just the fact. I can't help it. So we got up to 7. We have a 7 and a G. I'm saying this because I care about people, not because I care about being right. I just know that it's right. And because it applies to everyone and everything. The people that break down the deepest, darkest things, this applies to them and everything they do deeper than they know it. And I feel bad that they've studied it for all these years, but it's not my fault. It's actually a blessing to all of us. So 7 and G. We've gone from severed to even. So if we generated something, now it's here, right here, or it's here, or we're on this middle line. So the lowercase is right here. The movement, I'm not going to get into explaining why the movement is every 2. We'll get into that in later lessons, I guess. So H is here, or herald. Whatever's held between these two things is held, H. That's what it initiates in its number form. So we have 1A, A through 8. We'll understand all that stuff too when we get into letter words. This is starting to get smeary. I might have to wet my rag and pause the video, but I'm not going to until I have to because I'm on a roll. And I've been hesitating to do this because it's not something that people want to have somebody tell them, you don't know the alphabet and letters, so I'm sorry, but I got to show you this. So We were at H, we go from 8H to, we went from here, and we just turned it over. Now it's not just here, we've identified it. It's gone from 8 here or at, and we've gone from 8 to I. We've turned it sideways, and now it's a 9 or a identified intense, the middle line. So we're not at 10 yet. Now this is where it gets really cool, because most people don't understand how deep this will really go. It literally explains everything. This is identify, or simply the I. Of course, the I is the I. Anything you're talking about always means that. And you'll see what I mean when we get into it. I'm doing this so that everyone can at least see where it all comes from and why I say these letters for, or these words for these letters, because it is what they stand for. It's not what I think. It is what they stand for. So, after I, here is what I wanted to show you guys. 0 and 1 are literally 9 and 10 together. Just like A is 1 and I is 9. Now we went from none to 1 to a Roman numeral 1 with 9. So we went from 1 to 9 to, I'll just write here. Oops, sorry. We went from 9 to 9, 10. And we have a J at this middle spot, hooking over, because it's a junction or juxtaposed or joining the 9. It's identified with the I. Like if we wanted to identify the I, we'd say J, Jesus. Okay, I'm not trying to be funny here, but literally that's what words mean. And here it's also the same thing. It's the only other number with that. Why? Because it associates with the I. The J is the junction with the I. So I say junction for J. So there we have 1 through 10 and A through J. We've gotten through all the single digits. This is where 3, 6, and 9, if people understand that A through E, so the number that represents A, the first number, and the letter that represents 5, E, the fifth letter, is from center, B, C, D, E. So when we do that, and we say 3, 6, 9, because we had to activate it, base it on something, conceive it, define it, express it. So that is a 3 turned around. We have the 3. When you add 1, it becomes familiar. That's a 6. When you have a 6, now after this you generate from it, or you have something out of it, but when this itself is turned upside down, it is a 9 and is identified. 3, 6, 9 means you conceive it, you familiarize yourself with it, and you identify it. This goes way deeper, but the simple, easiest term of what 3, 6, 9 means is that. People don't want to hear that, and that's why it's been difficult for me to try to do this, because people are like, why don't you have a video that breaks it all down? I'm like, I do, and I talk about it. But everybody keeps saying that nobody's going to pay attention unless it's flashy, and I have a podcast. But when you understand what a true spiritual person is, and I'm not trying to put anyone down who really feels that they are, a true spiritual person is not looking for a way to appeal to you so that you like the truth. The truth is the truth, and I'm saying it as kindly as I possibly can with all my heart. And I'm not saying that to joke around, I'm just saying it because I mean it. So we move from A is 1, J is 10, and K is 2 1s, because they're all A ongoing, or AA. So K is also how A starts on these 3-line graph right here at the top. K starts, like we're already in tense, it starts right here, like an A does. It's activating, but it's a kinetic. It's already of its kind. It's a kinetic activity, or it's an active activity. A kick, a rock. It's kinetically, it's a reference ongoing of a concept, kinetic. That's a rock. As it's simple what its word means. So we have 11. I'm not going to have to write all these down because it's really the shape is the same thing. It's like We've turned it, we've gone one whole turn, and now we're expressing out of that, just like 1 through E was one expression, and now F is expressing out of that. So when we got to 10, we've identified it, and we're moving out. So everything after 10 is now in tenths. How I said we go from once to tenths to twents. You'll see as we get to the later ones, I'm not going to keep writing down the broke down numbers. I'll write down the letters. I'll say 12 is 1, 2, which just like A activated and B based it. Now you have 12, which is actually those two things together, an L. Or just like A is identified and B gives you the basis, now it's also a 1. It's the last Roman numeral 1. 1 and A are the first Roman numeral 1. 9 and I are the second Roman numeral 1. And 12 being our time number, just like a clock, we've left it behind and we go right ahead. It sounds silly because it sounds like I'm talking childish stuff, but that whole saying of if you come again as with the mind of a child or become again as a child, only then can you see the doorway to heaven. That's true. So it's not like I want it to be that way. That's just what it is. So L is either the third D, because 4 times 3 is 12, 3D, or it's what lay in front of you. Like, what is here? What's happening here? You know, bam, what's out here? That's what's happening. So now when we move that thing one more time, and it now comes into 13, be how 1 and 3 is halfway between activation and expression. 3 is that. We have an active concept at 13. It's an active concept, but it's active in tense, conceived in its once. So we have a manifestation, which unlike a C being here, an M is here. And it's also a 3 facing down because we've gone one full circle at A and turned at K. So now we're not a C, we're an M. It's just that shape because we are manifesting from the center up. Whoop. It manifests. M is the manifest letter. And it's also a 3. It's easier to say make sometimes instead of manifest. Plus the word manifest is way overused, so I don't want it to have that negative connotation on it. So if you want to say make instead, you'll just understand that it's the things that happen. M means to manifest something. So if we say Ma, she's the one who actively conceives an activity, something that activates. Ma is the one who manifested activity. You know, it sounds sort of silly, but that's what it is. Dad is one who through himself, D-I-A, Dia, activated me, Dia, through myself, Dad. It's kind of simple, but it's like, it's so simple that people don't know how to just accept that they've been lied to very heavily. And we can't do anything about it except for teach them from the bottom of our hearts. So 14 is now D intense because we have AD. Just so we have BC and AD. This stuff all goes into all the dialects, all the Bibles, all that stuff. And it's not nothing bad with it. Anyone who believes that stuff, you're allowed to. But you should want to know the truth, not just what you were taught. Because I can show you what the truth really means with everything and everyone. Every Bible name, everything. It's all, and you'll see. The Freemason lodges, I can break them down like nothing. The 33 degrees of masonry, it's like elementary to me. You know, the quantum physics and the quantum theories don't give me much problem at all. Getting other people to try to understand it simply is the only problem. So there we have AD. It's active through itself. So the symbol for this is here, which is a 7 and a 7. 2 7s make 14. Or it's active through itself. Now, the lowercase is now. So it's active, now, intense. I mean, it's really, these are why they're shaped that way. So I say N is now or nature, because it depends on person, place, or thing. And you'll see what I mean by all this. The shape and the math number. So whatever the letter is in number form, the letter itself and what it represents, or the shape of the letter, is literally the 3 initiates that make things happen. These 3 lines are once, tense, twents, bottom line, center, everything that's happening in tense, and anything that's happening twents, to anybody. So we just did 14. So we had N, which was that down shape there. I'll have that one. And we'll say A through E are the first 2 vowels. Add them together and you have 6. So you have A, 1 and 5. So you have 1A and E, 5. An active expression. Why is O this? Because it's ongoing. Right here we would have 0, 1 through 5. Right here we have 1, 5 is a big O. This isn't a coincidence. Its O is either occur or ongoing. I'm just going to put occur because ongoing is it's like it's a action and motion, like occur and then ongoing. I don't want to put an ing on it for you guys. So 15 is literally the active expression or something intense that's happening right here. So that's why the lower is this and the bigger is still this. They apply to that. When we get to the later stuff, if you bear with me, which I guarantee you should, because it will teach you everything about yourself and what happens to you after you die, everything. This is the way I'm starting to show you the cosmic everything. But in order for you to understand it, you have to understand where I'm coming from. And people keep telling me, well, you should make a video about it. I'm like, well, I've put out 2,000 videos and nobody has taken the time to watch them. So why do you think I want to go try and do it again just for you? But I'm doing it because I do care. And I'm getting frustrated to the point where I'm threatened with jail and fines and problems just because I refuse to cooperate with the system that we all know is corrupt. So therefore, I have to speak out because this is what we all must do. In our own way, we contribute. So we're from 1 through 15, A through O. The next one after O, we're moving up in the world. Up here, potential. Say, I'll get into how 2 8s make 16 and why this is H and this is connected to H. I can tell you that because it's intense and it's happening on an H. But I'm going to try to do this for you in a way where 16 equals person, place, pi, or potential. Because you're already here, it's already active, and it's already familiar. So we're already here, and it's already active. So it's your family. You would say your papa. Or you would say something like potential as in a place. It's a placement or potential 3D activated concept of expression, a place. Or you can say put that over in that place. So place is literally a spot or a place, a potential or placement or piece or pie. It depends on person, place, or thing. So it's a potential, like land, active, concept, expressed. That's a place. So then we have the little p, which is the same thing because we were coming from below. This is indicating as if the 3 lines of the graph were moving with your letters. The capital is between here. The lowercase is coming from, we've already did A through I are this lower thing. At I, we dot the top, and at J, we move up. So we actually could write a 4th line like we have, like this goes into music notes. When you say middle C is where we start, it's because from C to D is middle C. Like, but that, it doesn't make sense to people because there's 7 and then it closes the 7. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. There's only 7 in an octave because the octave is the whole set of 7. And then it starts a new octave. It's like people don't understand like the cycle of 7 applies to light, the weeks, the archangels, the deadly sins, the colors of the rainbow, the music scale. It's literally everything you'll ever know because G is the generative, severed, and even principle. I don't want to say principle because people overuse that word for the wrong thing, but it's what 7 and that kind of stuff means. G is that. So we've won the 16, which is a active form. So it's the person themselves. Now 17, like G having this center expression from a capital here and lowercase g being coming from the things before here. Now Q is, I guess I'll do that to make it look good for people. A Q, because you're on Q. You're the one who's active, generating, actively here, on Q. So Q is that because also it's a circle happening right here. Bottom line, it's happening from here. It's intense and it's happening right here. So it's actively severed and even or actively generated on Q. So I'll just write the word Q. I didn't write P, but that's place, pi, potential, placement. I didn't write it because there's So many. Like I said, I'm using words to explain what letters mean because letters have placement. And the best thing I can do for you is try to use words you understand and make it as elementary as I can so everyone from age 2 to age 102 can understand it. Because it's time to stop lying to each other, hiding stuff from each other, and just not saying, hey man, I won't harm you if you don't harm me, and don't tell me what to do because you don't have the right to do that. It's that simple. We shouldn't have that much of a problem understanding that. But for some reason people do because they're afraid to stand up for themselves. And this isn't just for me, this is for my kids and me. Because my kids come first, because whether anyone wants to know this or not, we don't die. No matter what you think, you don't die. You can't die even if you want to. So, we went from Q, 17, now we're moving to R. 8 has moved in tenths, because now it's a teens. That's why we go from L, which is 10, 11, 12, and when we manifest, we become into tenths at the third one, just like A conceived an expression, J kinetically lies ahead of you to manifest. So this A moves to this A moves to this 3, just like 1 moves to C, K moves to M. It's a trying to explain the movement of letters that I see in cosmic space in my head, and trying to write it on a 2-dimensional board is harder than anyone would think. So this may sound weird, but if you really watch it over and over, you'll see that it's accurate in every way. And if you apply it to every name and every person and everything you've ever learned, it's accurate. And I can show you how to heal yourself and how we fix the planet with this. So this is the answer. Quit looking for other answers because you want to be the one with it. Take this and make it some way and make money off of it, because this is how we care about each other, and I don't care about money at all. But if it's what you need, do it with the right things. So R is the reoccurring or the reference number, depending on person, place, or thing. So it's a reoccurrence because it's actively here. It's here, it's come back around in tenths, and it's in front of us again. And once. So it's a reoccurrence or a reference. So I'll write that right over here. The reference. Because it's actively here. Get what I'm saying? I mean, it's not really hard at all. It's kind of simple. But then when you start placing this on people, placing things, your favorite actors, your favorite, historical event and the people that are in it, you'll see that this list, they're literally the living word. Just like Moses and Jesus and Mary and Joseph and all that kind of stuff, they're the living word. The Bible is the living word. Well, guess what? Every word is the living word. So your Bible doesn't mean anything more than the Quran or the nutritional label on the back of a food item. That's literally as much as your Bible really means to everybody. It may mean a lot to you and the people who taught it to you, but that's only your cycle of 7, going from your great-great-grandparents to your great-great-grand child. Just saying child, because we got cut off there in the middle of that. And I did not mean to put anybody down by speaking about the Bible or the people of the Bible, because believe me, every religion will be very, very angry when they find out that everything they've learned was just taught to them by people who learned that as well. There is the underlying thing, which we've been talking about. We left off at R. So we have 18, which is an active here, or A. See how that's here, and it's already active. It's already made a whole turn into tenths. So now we're moving on to S, which is 19, which is also a big number. S is a very popular number. It has to do with subjecting something, making it a subject. And if it's subject, it's 1 less than the T. And the word subject, I use it because it's an S-U-J-E-C-T. E and C are basically a 3 turned around. A J is a 10, we'll give you that the J shape. And then we have that lowercase t that's turned like this with the cross. That's a lowercase t, the old lowercase t. It's a backwards J. So you have 10J, 20 Te in some old languages. But then you also, when we're at S, we have a backwards C on the lower part because you've conceived it, and now you're subjecting it. Same thing for the lower one. You're in this spot right here. You're right there on the money. The letter S is. S is. S is like, if you spelled it out, it would sound like ES. It's actually also AI, actively identified. So S is the actively identified or subject. So that's literally what S is. You can use it and say subject, source, or more things like that. They're usually something that's going to start something, the thing you're talking about, because it's an active identified thing. It's AI. That's why a money symbol is an S with an I through it. It's an identified subject. So we're just being mentally bombarded with stuff we don't understand through symbology with a line through an S, because an S is the symbol of a concept that you're subjecting. You're right here. You're the guy that's doing it. And S also has this S. When we say C, we don't go SC. We say C. So it's like that inside your mouth, that lower C, or the K. But when we have an S, we actually say S. And your tongue comes up to the top of your mouth. It's actually the shape of your tongue. Like all these letters actually do that, just like R and P, the top lip. It's weird, but it's literally the shape of our mouth. So when people put down the English language and say, oh, the English language is a bastardized form. No, it's not. It's just so diverse and weird because they're trying to take all these other dialects and make a modern dialect that includes them all. So what I'm saying here, you can actually take other languages in English and translate them into their language, and they'll understand them because it's all symbols and lines and shapes based on where you were born. Like if you cut the Western hemisphere and the Eastern hemisphere in half at the ocean, think of this as the left brain and the right brain. It's really what it is, but it's not like there's really not a shape at this point. It's just that's what our map looks like. So it doesn't really matter. It's not accurately to say that, but picture it like this is one half and this is one half. We have the feminine mind and the masculine mind, but of course each individual has those parts. But I'll get into that kind of stuff as we go into the other stuff. So we went from S, and we'll move on to 20. So we went through once, tense, and now we start at twents, which T is a plus symbol going that way. So on the bottom line, yeah, it's added. On the top line, it's there. It's made it to the top. So at the point when we get to T, 20, it's to anybody involved with this subject. We've gone into a T. We've added it to something. So 20, I usually just I say plus, or you can say to, or the total, to the tally. Total, you add it to the tally. So it's to, total, or just a plus symbol for T, because that's where you get to anyone involved, T. It's a plus symbol. That's why now that we've gotten a T, I can explain to you why the word the is the word the. T, we're adding something. H, something's here. E, we're expressing it. So that's why it's the thing, because we're adding a here expression to something. The thing, you know? The plus H-I-N-G, thing. Hinge without an E, it's hing with a T. So it's plus, here, identified, now generated or grouped. Like thing. What's a thing? It's a plus, here, identified, now grouping or generated thing. A thing. So from T, we've already got to the point where up here now. So at T, we have that kind of, the T has made it to the top line. So a U is literally from the top line to the top line. A V is an angle. So we're actually talking about this spot right here, the vital. W, they all go up to the top. I don't want to go through too many of these things without going individually first and getting you confused. We'll say U, 21. Just like 12 is an L, 21 we're going BA because it's this and this together, but it's a unit. So U is unanimous, unit. Unanimous? I'll just say unit. Or it's the shape. Like I said, every letter can be the shape. If you're saying upward, you say here, we're making a unit of an idea. So a unanimous idea associating with this top thing. Up, down, this lower spot, ongoing. Now we have a W, which is a vitally vital now. So you have down. See how that works? But we haven't got to W yet. But you'll see W we call it a double U, but it's actually shaped like a double V, unless you do that little funny lowercase thing. But we'll just say V, 22. To any, base. So now it's vital. It's the vitality. Or the via, if you're talking about a thing or something else other than a person, but you're talking about the vitality of it. What makes it a vital thing, V. vital. What is an IV? It's intravenous, but it's an identified vital thing. It keeps you vital, doesn't it? It's called an IV for a reason. So, next. We have 22. Now we have 23, which is a double U, which is a double V, which is also 23. Thy will be done. William, will I am. BC. The unseen concept becomes Bill. There's a reason for that kind of stuff. Will, you take off the I am Bill. You just say, that's Bill. Will, I am. BC, the C is an unseen concept. Whoop. Now you have B, Bill. I mean, it sounds sort of silly, but that's literally why names are. You can do this with every name and every abbreviation of every name. But we'll get into that kind of stuff later. It's not something that anyone really needs to know. It's just stuff that's accurate and true. So a W is a 23. I say it's the who, what, when, where, which, because you already have a letter that's Y. So it's who, what, when, where, which one. It's a double vital or something that's a double unit. We say we because it's vital to me and it's vital out here. I'm vital, and all these vital things out here become we. If we say what, we say to me, I'm looking for an answer to a vital thing. And so it's a vat and a vat. A vat from me and a vat from that. And it's like, so you would say vitally vital here as plus. That's what. Vitally vital here ongoing. That's who. Or if we say vitally vital here expressed when it's here, that's when we say when, because it's when we get there. It's vital here when we express to it and then get to it. Now, the when, like there's literally every word. That's why I don't really have one for it besides vital, because it's two V's. You can actually be this right here. You're the thing between the two V's. Whoop, you're right here. So it's vital and vital. So it comes from you or it comes from others. And if you're talking about a wish, it's a vital thing that you want. You're making it sort of a vital thing. I wish. So say vital, identified, unseen subject. Here, that's what I wish for. This applies to every word. Try it with every word. And if you have any questions, I'll gladly answer any of them because all I have to do for the rest of my life is give proper, correct answers to people. Like I'm not going to have any answers that are going to get you money. I'm not going to give you any answers that are going to get you popularity. I'm going to give you answers that save your soul. I think that's way more important. So now we move into 24, the big number. Why is it that at the end of a 24-hour day, we do this to a calendar? Oh, it's the 24th letter of a 24-hour day. We put a big X on the calendar. Oh, it's just a coincidence. There are no such things as coincidences. So just like we had a T, and then we had a U, which is 2 lines to the top, a V, which is from less than to greater than, and you're in the center of it, you're the vital part. And then you have a W, which is now that opens up into 2. So it was basically a V opened up. Now, if you take this and you turn it upside down, you have an X. Or you have 4 V's meeting in the center. X marks the spot. X is the center. When you exit, you express through the center. Identified plus. That's the exit, you know? Or when you say X-ray, you're looking at the center of somebody as a reference, activated, a V on top of an I, a vital identity. Or when you say I'm happy, here, active, in place, I want to take with me, vitally identify it. Happy. What's happening, I like. I'm happy with it. I vitally identify it. Or if you take it with you, like I run and my nose is runny, you can say yoke yonder, because yoke is to pull from and yonder is to push it. So you're taking it and pushing it, but you're identified with it in tense. So there's X and Y, because once we get to Y, it's more like E times 5, which is E is 5. Y is like a divine vowel that we don't consider a vowel, but we know we can use it as a vowel because it's vitally identified. It's E when E has fully expressed through this and the front and the back, the top, the bottom, the left and the right. They're all included because with this being the symbol, with all of these letters, remember, this is 25. We have the small yoke yonder, or we have vitally identified. Yoke yonder. And at the same time, we're taking it from intense and we're moving it up to the top line here. So the symbolisms are even all the way from T to U to V to W to X and to Y. And now when we get to the last letter, which is one of those coolest letters, barely used for very many words. I mean, you can look for and find a whole bunch of Z words, but it's one of the least used words like X, J, and Q. And there's reasons for that, because it has a certain symbol that it needs to address. A Z is 26. So to anyone, it's familiar. 20, form familiar. You have a something that is the only letter that stops at the top left, besides like a B, but it stays at the top left. And any other letter that has a top left stays there or stays in a spot. A Z comes from the top left all the way to the top right, all the way to the bottom left, all the way to the bottom right, because it's from top to bottom. It's a zipper from one side to the other, a zebra from black to white, Zen from everything from the top to bottom, energy, nature, or energy now expressed. That's what Zen is. Everything is Zen, literally, as in that everything is Zen. Zen is everything from top to bottom, energy. When we say zip, I go from here to there and I identify with it in place. I zip or I zap because I went actively from here to there in a place. Zip, zap, same kind of thing. So you have everything from 1 to 26, from A to Z, and you can apply this to every single thing there's ever been in the world. There's not one thing this won't apply to. Everything from the deepest, darkest, scary thing to the most beautiful, wonderful thing in the world. Remember, this is ones, tenths, and twents. So everything between, I'll get rid of this little mess here and make this new. So we're going to finish up this little thing with reminding you that everything on the bottom line is, I call them once, tens. Well, I usually spell it like this. I know that's an actual word, but I'll say tens and twents, because it's 21 intense and it 1. It's identified with it all the way up till I, which is the other side of A1, 9I. 0, 1, 1, 0 is a J like A. K is a AA like K. So if there's any questions, please ask. I have nothing but time for you. My heart is open. God loves you and everyone. Doesn't matter your religion, your race, your color, any of that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to find as a thing to look at as a difference, you're not. You're great. Just try to start thinking and understanding that it's really simple. There's no answer you need to search for that hard. It's all right here for you. And I'm glad to be able to share it. Until next time, peace.